Right. Okay. So today we're going to try and build. Well, you want to talk through what we're going to try and do?
Yes, so we are trying to build a very simple app, which is inspired by the new app made by Apple, which is Apple Invites. And well, it's basically a way for people to create any event they want. So it could be a party, it could be a concert, anything where they are the host, and then they can invite their friends. Of course, this app for Apple it lives within the Apple environment, so we're gonna skip a bunch of features that are integrated within the Apple environment. But yeah, I think pretty much it's about creating an event, inviting people, and well, editing the information about the event. Just quickly, this is the app from Apple. So you see there, these are the main screens, and if you go here to the description, it says basically the main features are create beautiful event, invitation. So yeah, it's basically like it allows you to customize by choosing a background, adding some blurs and change nice description, etc. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing. Then inviting and managing RSVPs, so inviting friends. I think we can trim it down to simply inviting friends and getting a RSVP. I don't think we need to go as far as adding collaborators and so on. And then of course I integrated with the whole music, Apple Music and Apple Photos ecosystem. But again, I don't think we did doing that. So yeah, we'll be looking at mainly these features here. What do you think?
Let's see where far we get. So we have 2 hours to try it out and see what we can actually build.
All right. Okay. So what I'll do now is I'm sharing my screen. So what I'll do now is I want to take a look at how they do this. So the beautiful thing about Bravo, as we know, is that you get quite some freedom with the design. So I'm gonna take this as inspiration, and now I'm gonna come to my Figma file, which I created for this project. It's a blank page. I added a production and explorations page. So what I usually do is I come here and I add a frame that Bravo is gonna ignore by adding the escape tag, and I add any inspiration, benchmark, designs, anything. So now I know that I'm looking at basically 3 or 4 screens. So one is gonna be a login screen. It's not here, but we know we need that. Then this is the home screen, seems to be the home screen. And in here you can basically select or filter by upcoming, and then a bunch of others, but we're gonna work with upcoming and maybe past or hosted by me, something like that. You can see about that with Toby. Then from here you can create an event. So when you create an event, page like this pops up with the input field, so you can edit the information. So we're gonna be doing that as well. And then this is how the event looks for the person attending. So you can think about this later. For now, what do you think, Toby? I think for now, the main pieces that we're gonna be needing from the backend, well, the user, the whole login, sign up, user authentication, and then the user management. So you're gonna be doing that in auth 0, kind, right?
Yeah.
And then we are gonna need an endpoint that is gonna return basically the list of all the upcoming events. So we will go into detail about that, and then we could return something like hosted by me events.
Yeah. So what me, Han, is if maybe you could send me a link to the Figma file so I can keep an eye on it as you're designing it. And I don't know what the best way of doing it is to communicate the endpoints you need for each screen. That might be helpful, so I can just keep a track of that as I go through this.
What I'll do is I'll start creating the screens, and then I will mention you, or I will add notes like dev notes.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So
just so I can, because if you think about this, like for example, you list of events, or I mean, they're all going to be handled by kind, so we probably want a screen when departments to start the authentication process as well, I would guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got just so you know, I've got Xano set up now. What I need to do next is kind, I guess.
All right. I'm also explain what I'm doing here because I think this is an important bit. So I'm now opening the Bravo plugin, the Bravo plugin, because for me it's the easiest way and the fastest way to get started. So we only have a couple hours to do this. So what I would do now is I would come to the apps, the sample apps that Bravo already offers, and I would maybe copy one of them that I think fits in what we're trying to do, or I would go under the pages section, and for example, we know that we're gonna need basically one sign up and one login page, right? So I will simply come here and pick one of these. Are we doing, Toby? Are we doing the whole authentication? So with kind, so that means it's gonna be on a web view. It's not, we're not doing it. So
there is actually there's a way of just going straight to the one we need. With kind, you don't have to have the web view. I think to keep it simple for now, let's just let kind handle it. I'll just switch on one form of authentication. I'll just switch on maybe the passwordless one that uses email to start with, because for us to do any like Google or Apple authentication require more setup. So I think to keep it easy for now would be best way.
Perfect. So that means if you look at my screen, that means that we're just gonna need this one login page, and that means that we have this button here, action login. That when the user taps on it, it will trigger it will call kind and it will handle all the authentication in a different web view model.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So then the next thing that I think we can is an intro or onboarding. We might want to have just one screen explaining what this whole app is about. So why don't we copy this? So we're saying that this intro page is going to show always. So we might just want to have it showing for the first time you sign up. So you're going to have the intro once tag, and we can customize the screen later on. I'm just gathering all the screens that I think I'm going to be needing. So now we have the login, we have an intro. Now we're going to need a home screen. So for this, I'd probably come to this full app section in the plugin, and then I think something within the content app is going to fit what I need. So let's go with this content title. Let's see what it has. So this is, as you see, this is the whole app. So we have here like 80-90% of what you're going to need for a simple. Now, what I'm interested in is in the home screen. So I see here homepage. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy that and paste it here. And then since I'm already here, I'm going to look at all the other screens and see if there's anything else that I can scavenge. I see a profile, so that might be useful. I'm going to put it here, the rest of the screens. And then I think that's it for now. We're going to need a detail for the invitation for the event. So I see here detail page. So this can be a nice wrapper, and I can build anything within. So, and then we're going to need a logo. So for a page and splash and loading screens, which are basically required for publishing the app. So the rest, I think I can discard. All right. So now that we have, I would say, most of the screens that we need. Now let's get to actually designing this. So let's start with the home screen. I'm gonna do the home screen, and then I will note down the endpoints that you might need. So in this home screen, what I see is we have this upcoming filter, which essentially it's a button that triggers something else. So then another button to create, and the user confirm. So we're gonna take pop-ins, select pop-ins, and I see here we have a top bar. There's not actually a top bar. It's not working as such. So I want to make this in a way that actually hides on scroll. So what I will do is I will come here to components, and I will search for tag section and top bar container. So I can select the type. It's very cool. So I will say that we want to hide the top bar when the user scrolls down. So I'm gonna add this tag. And as you see, it's added to my layer. So that's cool. Now I'm gonna keep the plugin open because that's pretty handy. So we have this upcoming filter. So let's just say upcoming, and this slightly smaller. We also wanna leave some room on the top that will make sure that it shows nicely on every device. And I usually leave like 48 or 56 pixels safe margin. So you can probably try different sizes, different spaces, and then see what works. But then we're gonna do this button and the profile. So say this is gonna be our profile image. Let's make it 40 and align this nicely. And then this is gonna be our button. We'll do that later. So now here I'm going to need, for now, I'm gonna keep these frames and I will reuse it. So categories, I'm gonna think we're gonna skip. And then here what we have is actually what I see, this could be a slider. So we can simply use the slider, the default slider that Bravo has. So we have one here, so that's pretty good. I will take this out for now. And this actually takes most of the screen. So let's do something like this. And now, so if you look at the slider, what we have is, we have the slider, right now it's horizontal, so that's the default slider. And then we have a slide within. That's the frame you see within. So this is the actual container that will be populated with data. So what we wanna do is, we wanna make it this big. So it fits the whole part. And as you see, it shows up the next one. So I think something like this would work. It's 40, yeah. Now the image is, we have an image and the shadow on top. So let's make it fill the whole thing. And now we're leaving this 16 pixels on the left. That would be our margin. And it would be our separation in this case with the next container, right? So if we do this, that will be the separation. So it will populate like that. So now let's start styling this. So we have some sort of tag here. We can skip for now. We have a title. We'll have some metadata here. And then I guess this is something like the people who are attending your event, but we can think about that later. So let's actually take our phone opens and let's do our title. So we want to make it centered, and now that's wide, and we can play with this just a bit. So we have some nice shadow, something like this. There's too much, we'll see. And then we have some metadata. So in this case, we want the text to, because it will be adapting to different lengths of text. It could spanning to 1 or 4 lines. So we want the text populating, spanning upwards, right? Not downwards. So what we're doing is we're setting this alignment to the bottom and then aligning the vertically to the center, and then we can keep the length. So that makes sure that any length it fits and it respects the design we're going for. So here what we want to do is do something like light, smaller face, and then that's going to be our date. So yeah, I'm going to put this as a placeholder. And then we also have another text string, which is going to be our location. So, okay, so here, maybe we can make this smaller, we can add some shadow, same here. So what I'm seeing here already is that I can already give Toby a good idea of what he needs. So I'm gonna actually just note down that in the home screen, we want a list of events, and we know these are upcoming events, right? So we know that the backend needs to return an array of the different events based on a filtering by upcoming events. So anything after today's date. So we're gonna note that down, and then we need all events with the following info or metadata. So we need, it's pretty simple, we need title, event, title. But then we need date, and we need location. So I think, Toby, here you have the first piece of
Okay.
information that you can look at to create the table and endpoint.
Yeah, that's good. So just to quickly give you an update where I got to. So I've created the Xano account. I created the Kind account. I've installed the snippets to enable Xano to talk to Kind. So I'm just going to, I don't know if you want to do it first, import into Bravo so that we can set up the login integration, and so we can just get that working, just to make sure that
Let's do that. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna simply skip all these screens and let's keep this a mess, but yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna sync with Bravo, so that means that I need to copy the link of the file. I'm here. If I come to create new app, I simply paste my Figma file. Now Bravo is doing the hard work. So basically it's converting my designs into the app. All right. So here I can see my home screen already, and I can see the other screens that I have for now, just the login page and the loading page. So Toby, let's.
Nice. Okay, so in this set the integration, so you want to switch on auth2 login. So basically, while Juan's doing that, what I've been doing is just setting up things in the backend. So we can use Xano for the backend. So it's going to be the database, and it's also going to be the thing that controls the APIs. So, which is really where Bravo does a lot of the logic. We're also going to use things so it's kind for doing the login process. Now, Xano provides some login itself. The trouble is, it gets a bit hard to work with because there's a lot of things it doesn't have, but you have to build yourself. And Kind fills those gaps in. Plus, Kind makes it really easy to do integration with third parties like Google and Apple and so on. So we tend to try and use Xano and Kind together. To do that, we've written a little, what's called a snippet for Xano, which kind of makes this process easier. So I've installed those snippets in Xano. It's just a case of, it's basically a little bit of a couple of endpoints that help to integrate the two. So I've set that up, and now what we're trying to do at the moment, once Juan's set up Bravo, we can put the login information that we need in Bravo, so Bravo knows how to let the users log in, and then when we use Kind for kind of proving that actually logging in, and then Xano to use that login information for actually checking in. So that's going to be the next couple of steps, but we're just going to get this processing first.
Okay, so we're back on Bravo dashboard. Then we come here to integrations, and we want to enable OAuth 2.0, and we're gonna connect to what Toby has been configuring. So
I'm just going to create a Notion page that you can get the information from. Juan. What I'll do is I'll share the page with you so you can cut and paste. What do we need to do? You need the client secret and the client ID, don't you? That's the first thing. Okay, so let's do the client secret. So that's the client ID, right? And then this is the client.
So for people watching, maybe they should do it in a different way to give things.
And then we need to do the Xano endpoints. Machine's being really slow today. Okay, so the auth endpoint is this one. Okay, so that's the auth, and then the token one. There's the token one, and then I need to very quickly make an me endpoint. Should really have that in the snippets to make it a bit easier, but anyway.
Yeah.
That's right. And then in terms of just why I do this, you do the scope. For the scope, we need to have email, profile, OpenID, and offline. So basically, email and profile, they give you like the email address, your profile image, your name, and then offline allows the refresh tokens to be able to be used, so you don't need to keep logging in every single time. And just going to generate now the endpoint to get the auth, and then this is and then I can just give you this new endpoint for me. Okay.
That was quick.
Now
Okay.
that can mean that you save that. You should be able to log in now.
I think don't we need to add the URLs in?
I've already added the callbacks into Kind.
Okay.
So
So now what I will do is I will go to Bravo Vision. So
I guess we should have a window of sharing the screen as well, right? Oh, that would be useful. Yeah, that's better.
yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Perfect.
Right. Did that work? The login?
So wait, I'm logging in into Bravo Vision because it's not. I was logged in with my other account.
course.
So
Yeah. There you
give
go.
me one sec. So let's take a look. I want to share my screen. Okay, so I see my login screen. Now I'm gonna tap on login. So, and what it does is what Toby was explaining before. It triggers, it opens up the Kind authorization flow. So here I wanna go create a new account. Great. So here we are. So it logged in, and now I'm in the app. And so the authorization is working. That's awesome. And it took you what, like 15 minutes or something?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, we should make it faster. There's ways we can improve the snippet to make that much quicker. So we're in. So that gives us login. So there's two things. One is it obviously prevents people, make sure the right person, but it also provides identity within the app so that the data that you have belongs to you, which is really important for when we've got multiple users.
I think. What do you say? Do you think we could work on the home screen next, just to have some content already coming through?
Yeah. So is that all you want to? Basically, so if you think about this, so we want probably a table of events because as the day progresses, they'll be historic. So we're a table of events which has, I guess, a title, a date, probably a list of people who are attending, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you think about this, how we do this, because we could have a list of people in the database, right? So you could just have a field which is an array of people attending. Yes, you're the host. I guess the host would be the person that created it. So there's a user ID of the person that creates it, and there's a list of people who are going. We're going to have an array of people on each row. That could get a bit messy if you have a lot of people attending. Normally, what you do is you have a table of an event and then list all the people that are going with that event. So a row for each person for what events they're attending, because then it gets easier to search in lots of different ways, right? You want to search. Sometimes you want to search it from what events this host has, and you also want to search it for which events am I attending. So you kind of there's several ways we could do this. I mean, the simplest way, as relatively low numbers of people, is just to have a list of people connected to the event, which might be the simplest way to start with. Because otherwise, what you have to have extra tables. We would need to then have an extra table, which is like the user, and then each row would be user and an event they're attending.
So you're saying, hey, our tables are gonna be one is gonna be users. So
the user table, which we have already, because that's got people. As you log in, you've got your name and stuff, so that's already there.
Yeah. Then we have events.
Yeah.
And then you're saying whether we do an attendees table or we host the number, so the attendees within the events table, right?
Yeah, either we can have the attendees as an array within the events table, or we can have like a user attendee table, which basically joins the user table. So which user goes to which event, which can be as long as you like. So that scales much better, but it's an extra table. So it's kind of that trade-off. The one advantage of doing that is it scales better, but it's also, it can be easier to do different ways of searching. Rather than searching within an array within the attendees table, you can just search this table. Yeah. So pros and cons. I mean, simple is just to throw an array of attendees for small numbers of attendees. Maybe that makes sense for now and not have an extra table. I don't really mind which way.
Okay. Personally, but that is me. In Xano, it's always harder to kind of do operations on arrays within the table, within a record. So I would, but that's me. I would simply go with creating a new table just
Okay, so basically
it's-
what we want to do is you want to have like an attendee table, which basically says which user is attending which party. I mean, there's lots of things. The nice thing about that is you can add things to this, like when they were invited. It can add extra data to it, which you couldn't get if it was so easily if it was in an array. Okay, so therefore we need to probably specify which. So we've got the event table. So if you could do it, we also need an attendee table, well, as in the detail. But what do we need to have in the attendee table?
So if we look at the screens that we have here, so actually attendees are going to be, I mean, I'm not going to be looking at another attendee's information on the app. That's just the information of a user. So in that sense, I think we only need, so an attendee is going to be attending one to many events, right?
Yeah.
Is also going to RSVP or not.
Going, not going, or maybe, right? So basically we want to have the attendee table, you want to have like the ID of the event, the ID of the attendee, and then the state of going, not going, or maybe. Right?
Yes. You know, well, I guess that as we go a bit more detail, we're gonna need like, okay, can you leave comments? Can you add photos? Things like that. But that would, I think, need a different table and a different logic that we probably not gonna cover.
This table is really about which person's attending which party, and I think this is like to do with the like invitation process rather than the actual party itself. Okay,
right. So we're saying attending, so event.
Yep, the event ID.
Right.
Yep.
So that's gonna be an array.
Yep.
But is it better to have it as an array or as a different record, as a single record every time?
A single record. Basically, each row would be relate to which attendee is attending which party, and you can have another row.
Right.
And if there's another attendee or a different event, you have another row. It basically just joins those two.
Makes sense. Okay. And then in the events table, we're gonna have user, who's our host. Then we're gonna have title, I think we said, description, date,
1 second,
and then location.
I've just got to admit, it's cool. 1 second. Sorry, I don't. Sí, perfecto. No entiendo, perfecto. Otra vez, repite, 5. Más tarde, por favor. Well, 5 es bien. 5, sí. Okay. Gracias. Adiós. Okay. So
I could have translated for you, Toby.
Yeah, it's probably been better, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's go back to us. What do we get to?
Okay, so we have our tables, and so we know we're gonna show in our home screen, we're gonna show a list of the events, and now we have this upcoming and past. For now, sorry, we're gonna say upcoming and hosted by me. Those are the two filters that we're gonna for now.
Okay.
So that's it, really. I think then we get into creating the event. So I think we have everything we need for that too. We need just the endpoints and I guess a basic edit profile endpoint, right?
Yep.
Well, sorry, and attending or not attending.
We need to like add an event, list all events. There's a few things, right? We need to.
Okay, so do we want to list all the things that we need to do now, or
let me just build this up so we can. What I can do is I can populate the event table with some dummy data, and then maybe we can see what that looks like.
Okay, I will be building the other screens for now, and then we can check in again. Perfect. All right. So I'm gonna keep narrating what I do here. So we said we want to have a detail of the event. So in this case, I'm gonna take this screen here that we borrowed from Bravo before, and we see we have already a nice cover image. We have this back arrow, which is going back on top. We have this save icon. For now, we're gonna disable because we're not gonna get into adding that feature. Then here we have seems to be a tag, so I think we can disable this as well. And this is basically some audio features, so we're not gonna need that. So now if we look at our detail event, put it just right here. So we wanna do, let me crop this so it's not that messy. So actually it seems like the image is gonna take half, I would say, half of the screen. So before doing that, let's make this a top bar, and we just copy that tag and put it here. And now actually what we want to do is we might, well, let's say we're gonna show scroll. Let's see the right tab. We're gonna look for top, and now, yeah, show scroll. So it's not show on scroll, but show scroll. Okay, so we want to get rid of the other one, and this is the correct one. So show scroll. So what I want to do here is we're gonna build and do something that's not in the official app, but we're gonna be showing this top bar when the user scrolls down. So that's a nice trick that I've been trying recently. So basically, as the user scrolls down, we might want to show like the X or the back or just the title here, right? Because this big title and the information and the image will be lost as the user scrolls down. So let's say we want to do something like this. We're gonna say the main data we need to show here is the title. I'm gonna get rid of the drop shadow. We're gonna make that smaller, and now we wanna left align it. Now we're gonna add some nice rounded corners. We're gonna say that this is the information that the user should never miss when scrolling down. And let's make this 50. And I think that looks pretty nice already. So let's see how this looks once we preview it on Bravo Vision. But now let's make sure we have enough top margin. Okay, so we say 12 here, and yeah, that looks good. So now this top bar is gonna show only when the user scrolls down. So for now, I'm gonna hide it, and I'm gonna keep building this screen right here. So this is gonna be container, and we still wanna keep this arrow because in any case when the user scrolls down, it will be lost, and we'll have the other one we have there. So what we want to do here is, let's say something like this looks good. Then let's scale it with the image, and now we want to take this background, this overlay, we want to place it here. We want to send everything to the back and get rid of the corners. So now there's some linear effect, so which we are doing here, but it could be better to do something like this. So of course we can also get something like this, similar to this effect, like the blur or the glass effect, but we're not gonna get into that. That's more of a Figma or design kind of session. So for now, let's say this, we have our location. So that's all we need for now. Now we're gonna be doing the buttons. So these are the RSVP buttons. So what we can do is we can take the text, and this is for me the easiest way of doing it. We're gonna say this is gonna be our going button. Now we're gonna frame that. So in most cases, Bravo is gonna recognize the auto layout. It's getting way better now, recognizing the auto layout. By the way, Toby, that's a really nice thing that, yeah, I remember before it could mess up when you had an auto layout going on, but now it's doing a pretty good job.
Nice.
So what we want to build here is, this is our frame where all the buttons are gonna live, and this needs to be here. And now let's make this something like this, and then this other frame is gonna be the rest of the information. So something like this, and we're gonna, let's say this is our color for the overlay. I'm gonna do a linear, and I'm gonna send everything to the back. And now we have our buttons here. So this is gonna be, maybe this is not going. Let's make them all the same. Let's add some spacing. So these are gonna be the buttons. So each of these are gonna trigger an action. It's gonna tell the backend, it's gonna tell whatever endpoint we will be building, whether you are attending, not attending, or maybe. So in order to do that, we want to say something like going button, and this is an action remote. So you can go to the plugin and copy that tag, but I know it already by heart. So this is going to tell Bravo that it should trigger an action, a call to the backend. So this is our not going button, and this is our maybe button. Okay, so let's do this for now. So then what we have here is, so we have our user avatar, who is the host, and then we have the name and 14, and now we have some description about the event. So 14, it's all centered, and now it seems like we have the list of people who are attending the event. So actually what we want to do here is we want to make this one frame. I usually do this just to make things simpler, and then we are gonna make our description live in a separate container. So I'm gonna delete from that one. So that means that we can make the description as long as we want, and we're gonna do that by adding a flexo tag. So the only thing about the flexo tag is that it needs to be on the last element in the container. So in this case, just make it easier, this is gonna be our description container. And then we have something like this. This is going to be the container for introducing the who is going section. And then here, let's say we're going to have our user, so everyone who's going to attend. So let's say we have it in a vertical list. So that means that this is going to be our attendee. So this is going to populate like this. Sorry. Or as many attendees as there are. So we could make it a horizontal list. We could make it something like this, so it populates like 3 or in a grid, so 3 or 4 per row. We're gonna make it simple because we don't have much time, and that's it. So now if you make this something like this, and okay, so Toby, we're gonna show this. So this. We're gonna show our show and scroll bar.
Looking nice.
All right, so I think it could be way better with some more tweaking, but for now, this will do. So I should add some detail here. So we're gonna try to replicate this thing here where the buttons live. So I'll make this rounded. Now say something like this, and center everything. And now this. So ideally, you would make these buttons you would make both states, so active and default states for the button. So when I say I'm going, this actually turns to active. It stays that way, and then these two stay as default. So we can have a different design, something like this. So this would be our active, and this would be our state. All right, I think this is already looking good. Is white, and that's it. So now what we need to do, if we go back to our homepage, is we want to link this container, which is going to be the event that's going to be populated. We want to link it to the detail page. So this is going to be our event detail, and this is going to be our home, and that's it. So now we can go back to Bravo, and we're gonna sync the design so we can see how it looks on the app, on our phone. How's it going with the endpoints?
Okay, so I've got a list of all the endpoints. I've got a list of the events a user is attending, and a list of all the events the user is hosting.
Nice.
So the first link is wrong. I should probably remove that because I changed it. But I'll send you all the other ones I've got. So that's
okay.
List of all the events, and there's a list.
Okay, so I will check how it's looking on Bravo Vision, and then I can do some tweaks live, and then I'll take 10 minutes, and then we'll jump to connecting the backend.
Sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, this is good. I think the Figma side is much more interesting to watch than the backend side generally.
Okay, so we can see that it's not looking exactly as we designed. So let's try to fix that and troubleshoot. So that. Two things. So one is, so you can see here the backdrop that we added. So that is showing nicely, but then these buttons are off somehow. And then the rest is, yeah, we could work on the design itself, on the UI, on the spacing, typography, etc. But yeah, it's showing the way we want it. So everything is stacked nicely, so up to the username. So that means that when we will have different users attending, this one will populate vertically, right? And let's see how it looks when we have a long description. So we'll see that when we connect the endpoint. And now, if you remember the tag that we were using that I'm a fan of, which is the show and scroll. So you see this is the default when you land on the page, but then if I scroll down, it shows this other minimized kind of top. So that's pretty cool, because as I scroll down the page, you can show the user specific information that you don't want them to lose track of. So now let's try to fix these buttons here. So in some cases, it might be, so let's first check that we have that the layout itself is in place. So we have this first container here, then we have this other one, and I see the issue. So these containers, these buttons are actually living in in the first layer. So they are floating around, they're in a limbo space. So we wanna put them inside frame number 2 here. So this is gonna be our button frame. Of course, it's more time you wanna be doing a better job naming the layers and the elements, so you don't miss anything like this. So now we have everything wrapped nicely inside, right? So let's see if it looks better now. So let's sync the changes. All right, so trying to share screen. Okay, now it's deciding not to share my screen on my phone. Okay, there we go. So we sync the changes on Bravo on the website. So now we're gonna hit in Bravo Vision. This is important because sometimes it won't sync automatically. So we're gonna hit sync here. All right, so now we see the buttons are showing up nicely and on top of the backdrop that we added. So again, we can play here with the opacity and all the design aspects, but yeah, we have our page built up and ready to be populated with data. So now we know that we can connect the title, the date, the location, the host information, the description, and also populate who is attending. So that's nice. Now, one more thing that we might want to do now is we want to make this the starting point of our app. So right now it's always going to the detail page. So now I'm going to share again. And now if we sync the changes, it should navigate us directly to the homepage. Yeah, there we go. So now if I tap on this event, it takes me to the page. Now I tap on the back arrow, it takes me back. Okay, so everything is in place in order to be connected to the data. So let's go back to where Toby left off. So we have the endpoint to get the events being hosted, right? So let's get first the list of all events. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the API. So we're gonna copy the endpoint here. And now here we wanna go to data. We're gonna create a new collection and we're gonna start from scratch. Or we could use the Xano wizard. So this is gonna be our events. All right, so this is gonna be events list. So let's say home events, all events. So as you add more endpoints, you wanna make them as descriptive as possible. So another thing I do is I usually add emojis, because when we have like 30, 40 endpoints, I get messy. So one question, Toby, did you add the authentication to the endpoints or not?
Yes, so they're authenticated.
Okay, so
you setting some authentication. Yeah.
So what we're doing here is basically we are setting the same authentication configuration in Bravo in our API, so we can test, right? So otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get a response from the endpoint. So now I'm gonna hit send. It's gonna ask me to log in. I'm gonna log in. So this is basically mimicking what would happen in the app. So Yes. Now we should get a code. All right, success. So now we can go back, and yeah, this will show up. It will go away, or you can hit send again. So now we're getting all the events here. So now we need to select all the data that we want to show. So in this case, it's already pre-cleaned up. We're going to select all. So this is the array of events. So we're going to select the ID because we'll need this to tell Bravo which event to show in the detail page. And for any other operations with this data, we're going to need the event name, the description. Then we're going to need the location and the user ID. Now, what we can see here is that we might need some more data from this. So Toby, what do you think? So for example, for the start date, we would need it in a human readable format, right?
Yeah. So
and sorry, and this user is the host, right?
yeah, that's the user as the host. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm
Sorry,
doing is I'm creating another endpoint, which gets you the detail for the event, which gives you that plus all the attendees.
Perfect. Nice. Okay, so we have selected the data that we're going to show in our homepage. Let's say this is, let's rename all the variables so they are, so we can reference them easily later, but also we need to make sure that the variables that we're going to be passing through different screens in our app, they need to be named in the same way. So our ID here is our event ID. So we're going to name it event ID. So any other instance of a variable of event ID, we need to name in the same way. Otherwise, the connection won't work in our app. Then this is going to be event name, event description, event location. And this is going to be this is going to be the host, but actually, I don't think we need it at this point because we don't need to show that data. So at this point, this is all we're showing. So an image, title, timestamp, and the location. Then this is going to be, in this case, is going to be the same user image that would be the host of this event, but this would be, I think this would be better retrieved in another endpoint, which is the me or the profile endpoint. So for now, let's actually delete this one. And if we need it later on, we can get back to it. Right, so now we're going to come to our app and we want to bind the container. So we want to bind the container, which is wrongly named as category slide because I didn't change any layer name. But we're going to connect it to our home all events endpoint. This is the data. And now this would be the title. So again, here we would need to name every layer an element in a way that we can recognize. So this is going to be connected. This is going to be connected to our name. This is going to be, we don't have the date in a human readable format, but what we're going to do is
Do you want me to add that? I mean, I can do it pretty fast. I guess you probably want it.
I mean,
let's try to work out where you need it. I guess you probably want it on the event list, don't you? Because you need to show the date of the, and when you want the date, you just want like Friday, 10th of May, 2025, something like that. What format would you want it to?
So let's look at how it's shown here. So Tuesday, September 2nd, and a time as well.
Okay. Okay. Let me try and do that then.
Okay, well, you do that. I'm gonna simply, so we didn't select the date. So we're gonna call the endpoint again. And now you see here, start date time. We want to select that. Toby is working on changing this into a human readable date format. So then the value will change, but the variable will stay the same. So that means that we can already say that this is the event date. And let's go ahead and connect it. So we see it open up here. So again, it won't make any sense when we preview this in the app right now, but after Toby's made the change, it will be updated automatically, which is pretty cool. So here, this is going to be our location, and then we're missing the image. So sometimes you're going to see, in this case, we have two layers. So one is basically the overlay, and the other one is the actual image that sits at the bottom. A common mistake is to actually bind this one. So that's something that I see a lot of. So you want to make sure, because if you come here and you click on this one, it's going to select the overlay. So you want to come here and select this. And there's another one that we need. So we need the image. So an event needs a cover image.
That's a good idea. Okay, let me. Yeah, okay. I'll add a filter for that.
Okay, well, he works on that. We're gonna build the upcoming and hosted by me filter. So right here. So let's say this is gonna be a filter, and we should something like, and we have any icon here that we can use. So anyways, I won't be using any icons, but we need to make sure that this is showing up as a button. So let's make it underlined for now. So there are several ways that we could do this. So I'm thinking out loud right now. So the easiest way to actually do this could be to make it a remote action. So that means that when, or actually set variable. Toby, maybe I can get your input here. So I'm thinking basically we have this button that is going to change the list of events from upcoming to hosted by me, right?
Okay, yes. Yeah, so set variable is perfect for that. So you can have a drop down.
Set variable, right?
Yeah, drop down probably. And you attach to the input tag, and it will then set that variable, and then we passed in all the requests going forward after that point.
Perfect. So that you will need to add to the endpoint.
The other thing you could, the other way of doing it would be a stateful component, which was, but I suppose you need to just submit after that. So no, I think set variable is probably the best thing to do. Okay, so you want to add that to the...
Yeah, so add an input, right? That is upcoming, and another one that is hosted, or how would you do it?
I'm just getting this here right. I'm just getting the timing right. So September the 13th, and then the time. I'm saying we just get this time.
Okay. Yeah. So I will explain this bit while you do that, and then we can see how that's on the endpoint. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the set variable. So basically, that is recently new, like a recent tag that Bravo added. It's pretty powerful because you can pretty much from the front end set a value for a variable. So and that means that it will call the endpoint with a specific value that you're given from the front end, and you can make all sort of things with that. So in this case, it's going to be useful because we want to tap on this, and then we will show some kind of drop down. When the user taps on the drop down, it will send a variable to the endpoint saying show only the events are hosted by me. So that will basically return the different set of events. So I think that can be the best way to do it.
You want to try it? So I've added the time in now. So you've got an extra field.
Okay.
So if you go to the requests, you'll have an extra field that will...
So it's a new one. Okay.
Yeah. You should get a new field, which is start time text.
Perfect. So then I will deselect this one because this is the one we want. And then we also have the image, which right now is null because there's no data there.
Actually, let me. If I add an image, then is there an image, some stock images?
You can go to Unsplash.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look.
So we are renaming the variables. We have selected the two new variables that will be added, and now we can review the binding. So in this case, yeah, we're gonna bind the image, new one to be added, and then this one we had connected to the previous timestamp, but that wasn't readable. So to be added a new variable, so we're gonna select it, which is event time. Okay, so that's good. Now let's go back to. I don't think the set variable is in the plugin.
Or... It might not be in the plugin.
Yes.
It is in the documentation. So if you do it.
Yeah. So in the documentation, we can see you can go through everything. Everything is pretty well explained. So in this case, we want to make an action and set a variable. So what we are gonna need is the set variable, and we'll go through the rest in a bit. So this is gonna be our filter. So our text here is gonna be the button. We can make it nicer by adding a wrapper, some fill behind the text to make it look like a button. But yeah, we're gonna add this action set variable, and now what's gonna happen? Actually, sorry, this is actually gonna trigger the drop down, and the drop down is gonna have the option. So for now, it's upcoming and hosted by me, we said. So what we want to have here is maybe a model, or I think a model can work for now. We come here, we say models, and now let's go with the fixed size. So this is gonna show smaller model. So I think this is good for what we need. And let's say this is our filter model, and now we're gonna have a text saying select type, select an option for now, and then here we're gonna have one option which is upcoming, and another option which is hosted by me. We can make this as nice as we want. For now, I'm gonna go with a very simple button fill. This is pretty crappy, but actually we're gonna wrapper around this, so Bravo picks it. Okay, so I'm gonna make this a bit smaller.
Can they choose both the options, or are they mutually exclusive? Is it either upcoming, or is it upcoming and hosted by me?
So it's either upcoming or hosted by me.
That's okay.
So now what we need is this upcoming filter. When they tap, it will pop up the model, and then going back to our set action set variable tag, we want to add it here. So each of these options will set a variable value. So this is going to be our hosted by me filter, and this is going to be my upcoming filter. Now let's sync these changes with Bravo and see what's the next one there. In the meantime, checking in, Toby, what are you up to?
No, I'm just trying to build the functionality to handle upcoming or hosted by me, so that you can you can just pass that as, I guess that'll just be like an active or default, or true or false. You can set the value, right? So let's say true or false, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna share my phone screen so we can see if it works.
1 second. Okay, so it's hosted by me.
All right, so yeah, I was about to share my phone screen so we can see how the filter from the front end part of the filtering is gonna come together. So I'm gonna tap on upcoming, and well, we can see, so the model slides up in a nice way. But yeah, we can work on the design here, but yeah, we can see that some text is cut off, so we'll fix that. And now what we need to implement when Toby will finish the endpoint is basically when I tap on hosted by me, for example, that will call the endpoint, this endpoint that is showing the list of events, and it will give it different value for an input that will make it return only the events hosted by the logged in user. So let's try to fix for now the text cutting off. So it's usually a good practice to give it some room. It might be that we haven't added the pop-ins typography to our account. So if you see this happening, like some text being cut off or so displaying weirdly, what you want to do is you want to come here and you want to go the fonts, and maybe you'll see that some fonts are missing or there's a mismatch. So you want to check that. If not, a good rule of thumb is to give it some breathing room here. Same with this and this. And now that should be good. So we can sync those changes and it will be effective right away. So let's try to see how that looks. We're gonna need to edit out a lot of the waiting times for phone to. Okay, so let's see how that looks. So now we see that the text is showing up nicely. Again, we should work out the text a bit better, but for now that will do. Now, if we actually look at our page here, we have this filter model, right, which is building. So we see some options here. So we see the set variable action configuration. So this is the variable name, and this is the value. And then we can define an action that will follow. So that means that whatever values Toby is configuring in the endpoint, we will need to pass along here. So we can go get into that in a bit. And then on success action, we can say go to page. So in this case, I think that makes sense because we want to go to the home screen again. So we're triggering this model, then the model pops up, and when you click on it on any of the options, you pass along the variables, and then on success, so that means that the list has been updated, we go to page and go to the home page. So we can already set that, and once the endpoint is ready, we can implement these values. You let me know, Toby. In the meantime, I'm
just trying to.
We can go ahead.
Yeah, give me a couple more minutes, and I'm nearly done.
Yeah, sure.
Well, what I'm trying to do, maybe you can go ahead with the switching these things on. I'm basically setting up so that you call the event list endpoint with either an upcoming or hosted by me variable, which is either true or false. Okay.
Yeah. So that means that we want to add the query parameters here. So you can do that by adding the parameters directly on the URL, or you can add it different way to do it here. So you know the exact input you're going to use?
Yeah, so it's upcoming is one word, and that can be true or false.
Yep.
And the other one is hosted _ me.
Okay, right. So these are the inputs that the endpoint needs. So those are the inputs that Toby is adding right now. And this is the variable that we're going to define in Bravo. So I assume it's not ready yet, so we're not going to test, but we now have the parameters here showing up nicely. So everything is in place for the inputs to work. So in the meantime, while you get to that, Toby, I will keep working on, I think, the last piece of there could be many pieces to this, but I think, what do you say? Should we work on the create an event?
Yeah, maybe. But I think we've probably got time for one more thing. Should we do a create or probably create an event is probably the first thing, because you've got to start with that. You can't, without any events, you can't do anything, right? So
yeah. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is because I downloaded the app, and I'm gonna see how it looks when you're creating an event, so we can do something similar. So basically what we want to do is when you tap, so this can be a plus button. So this is going to be our plus button, right? So again, we would want to review here the design and maybe some nice icon to this, but for now, let's say this will. So this is going to be our plus button, and when this is clicked, we are going to trigger so probably we want something like an edit view of this page, right? So we don't want to make it extra complicated. So I think that will work for now. So I'm going to take as a reference the screen from the actual app. And then just one sec. All right, so here we have it. So let's try to make something similar. So I'm gonna just duplicate this, so copy, paste, or drag this one. And then this is gonna be our event edit page. So you will see there are some other tags here, like the refresh always. That's something that we're gonna want to have. So the screen is always showing the latest data. So here, it's, as you see, it's basically the same screen, but with different input fields. So we can go ahead and remove this one for now. Then this is gonna be our X again. For now, let's do something real quick and ugly, but yeah. Then since that we have a preview, so we can take this button and reuse it, and this is going to be our preview button. So I'm guessing what this will do is, it will show you your event, so it will save it, and then save all the changes, and then navigate you to the event page that is live. So we can, there are several ways we can build that, but yeah, I don't think we have time for that. But for now, let's say we have this image, so we can keep this placeholder image for now. And now let's maybe, since we have this here, let's reuse it. Let's reuse this icon. And then let's say, let's also reuse this button here. Here we can lower the opacity and say, let's actually keep this, and lower the opacity of the background. I think something like this would work. This is going to be our background button. You know what, let's actually make this nice color. All right, so now we have an event title and the date and time. So let's get rid of all this other stuff and let's keep this one. So this is going to be our event title. So we can keep this text string, this element here. And now we use the same button from the actual app. And again, there you would want to build this in a way it's actually designed and not taking screenshot, but now it's going to do. So this is going to be our date and time. Then we can say this is going to be our location, and this will need to be a bit bigger, and let's leave that a bit. All right, and then we want to show something. This is going to be static because it's hosted by is static, so we can steal that one from our previous design, and we know we're going to show the host, so that's the logged in user, because there's no other way this could show someone else if you're on the edit screen. And then we have the description, so we're going to also reuse the same container. We're going to say description, and that's it. Then I see there's like a way to add photos, but we're not going to get into that. So now we have the layout more or less done. Now, what we want to do is we need to tag everything accordingly. So it's a form that can be submitted to Xano, and we can do the changes. So let's go back to our plugin, and we're gonna look for a page that is a form. And let's take this one that seems to have the images built. So actually, you know what, let's simply reuse this. Let's take it directly from the Bravo plugin. So this is going to be our image input. So this is the tag that's going to tell Bravo that this is an input, and it will trigger the native image selector from your device. So let's put this on top, and then let's get rid of our previous image, this, so something like this. So then we want to actually this one only the image and file. So we are gonna take the other page that we saw before. So that's form components.
I can expect Juan.
You got it? This bit we'll need to edit out. Well, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep building this. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and you know what? Let's actually use these input fields here. How much time do you have, Toby?
Well, getting on to a couple of hours now. So we should probably...
Okay.
So just to let you know, I've added some of the booleans for the choosing the list. I've added a create event endpoint as well. So
okay, perfect. So awesome. Okay, so real quick, what I'm doing here is I'm actually taking the input fields from the form. I think that's gonna be nicer. And we are gonna, for now, all we're gonna is a title, so an event title, then a date, and then the image. So that's all we're gonna do. And then this is gonna be the host, and that's it. Oh yeah, and the description. All right. So we are gonna need we are gonna do this in the easiest way possible. So we are gonna need a submit button to send this. So we're gonna add it here. We're gonna wrap it frame, and it's gonna show at the end. Another cool thing that we could do is this frame, we want to show it on a fixed position on the screen, so you can scroll everything, the form. Imagine there's a long description, but this button will be fixed there. And now for the description, we want to add a text area. So we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to, so this is going to be our description field. All right. So let's see how this is looking. This is going to be our go back still. We can actually make this a model or a pop better. So it's page pop-up. I don't remember. You check. Yeah, page pop-up. Okay. All right. So yeah, and we want to bind this button to the new screen. And now let's go back and sync the changes. All right. So let's go step by step. So the filtering, so the endpoint is now filtering, right? By upcoming or hosted by me.
Yeah.
Okay. So then,
I mean, just set up an event and make sure you've got an event that's valid for both of those. So I need to make sure you've got an event that you've created. There is one, and then I'll also create an event or some events in the future as well.
Okay. So let's try hosted by me. So let me true, and the other should be false, or can ignore.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I think it would be interesting if you show your end of things, like how the whole thing is looking on Xano.
Yeah, maybe we should do different ways of doing this, right? Maybe sometimes we focus on the front end, sometimes we focus on the back end. You know, like we could almost, you can almost build. I mean, one thing might be worth doing would be to like do maybe this. We could do it separately, parent stage, where we agree at the beginning what the endpoints are going to be. You build the front end for those endpoints, and separately, I can then make a video of building the endpoints for the back end.
Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe this. I mean, it might be easier to do it asynchronously, although it's quite interesting. I think being able to talk about it together, because when you go, oh, well, we need this, you go, oh, yeah, we need this, or you know, so it's quite useful to bring it backwards and forwards. Then it would be that you'd miss out.
Definitely. I think, you know, it could be cool to do it in person as well, because it might be also easier. But...
Yeah, that's true. But I think one of the things I was thinking about this is how do we record it normally? I mean, I was actually, because to stream it, I mean, I'm trying to get, I've seen OBS, which is like, I think some of the streamers use. There's a bunch of tools. So, because what we really want to do is you want to talk, plus also show your screen at the same time, right? So it's trying to find the right tools to do that, because otherwise we're constantly flicking screens, or you share, I'll share, and it gets a bit messy. So it'd be nice to be able to figure out a way of being able to do both things. Anyway, this is for the future. It's just, I think this has been super cool, actually. I think it's very cool.
Yeah. It is. Okay, so I mean, the only thing is I'm not like getting, so it's all front end, and I'm not doing any design work, which I think is also interesting for people to see, like how far you can get with your design. You are basically free to do any design you want. So I don't think that's coming through in this video. This is really front end focused, right?
Yeah, true. But that's okay. That's okay. One step at a time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So hosted by me, false, and upcoming true is not returning anything. Oh, now it is. Okay. So I think we can get back to this point in the video. So we're now testing the endpoint that Toby modified. So we're saying, okay, show me only the upcoming events, and not the hosted by me. So you can see that upcoming, there's only one record. And if I change this to return only the hosted by me, no, this is false. Yeah, it's returning a longer list. So it seems to be working. Now we need to, so these are our variables, right? We need to pass to the endpoint. So coming back to this button here, we are gonna say that this upcoming button, we could set it dynamically, but for now, to make it easier, we know the input. So it's gonna be coming, right? So that is the input that the endpoint needs. So upcoming, and then we're gonna set the value to be true. So that means that when the user taps on this button, it will set the variable that is named upcoming, so the variable upcoming, to true, and then it will navigate to the home page. So we're gonna do the same with this one, and let's say hosted by me, set it to true, and we're gonna say the same. So on success, go to page home, and let's make sure everything is saved. you might want to wait for a couple of seconds until all is showing. Okay, so now let's see how it looks on our app, and then we'll go to the create event screen. So it's not sharing. Okay, let's edit this out as well. But yeah, Toby, this is pretty cool, I think. And the interesting thing is we could do this. Yeah, if we do it live, people would have a lot of questions, and
yeah, you can different
because
tangents.
I might be skipping a lot of things that make no sense.
Or we could request someone to build, or can you work on this, or build this feature or something. And I think it'd be a bit more like a focused office hours almost.
Oh yeah, I think that could work. Okay, so now going back to sharing my phone screen. So we have the plus button here that we added, but now we want to see the hosted by me trips. So right now by default, we're showing by default all trips. All events, or
should be all events, yeah.
So we have this. I see the image is not connected, so we can check that as well. But the rest of the data it is connected. So let's now check the hosted by me. So I'm tapping on the, okay, so it's not responding. Let's see why. Can you see, Toby, if a call went through?
Yeah, let me check. So I didn't get the last call. I didn't get anything on. Have a look. When was the last call? It didn't come in yet. Last call was at 4:23. I got a call at 4:20, which had upcoming false hosted by me true.
Yeah, so that
did come in. And then the output was the 6 events. So that did work. And what do you want? So that did.
So no, I'm tapping on it, but it's not navigating me to the homepage. So I was guessing the call didn't go through, but
well, you could try again. I got the call at 4:23. I don't know if that was you testing it. Maybe it's not making calls.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you probably need to then go to page in the home, and maybe you need to refresh page always to make sure it picks up the changes. Or
so it's not even closing the.
It's not closing the pop-up.
Closing the pop-up, but okay. Let's not working. Yeah, maybe we can edit this bit out as well, but we'll figure out.
Yeah.
So to make sure, yeah. So action set variable. Let's try to make it a normal page. Let's see what it does. Okay, so let's try this. This is upcoming. And then we want to navigate to the homepage. Yep. And this is hosted by me, 92, and navigate to home.
Yep.
All right. So let's try again. Nope. Not working. Do you see any call?
Oh, look. Well, I mean, if it's not going to the homepage, it's not going to make a call, right? Because all this is doing is changing the variable. It's not doing anything else. So I don't think we'll see a call. Well, I just saw a call at 4:28. So I just had a call then, 4:26. I'm getting some calls coming in, but nothing with any variable set. But what's weird is it's not closing the screen. It's not. When you've implemented this before, did you use a pop-up like this with the set variable?
No.
You did it on the set variable on the screen itself.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe so. This is actually a good piece of. So let's narrate this as well in case it makes into the video. So let's try to make, instead of triggering the model, let's try making it the call from here.
I mean, you could just do a drop down. So either upcoming or hosted by me. Right.
So as a drop down, and then of course, yeah, and then I can pass the values from.
Well, then you just refresh the page effectively because the variable will be set then.
So okay, so let's try to make a drop down. Oh no, what was the name of the? Okay, let's look through the documentation. Drop Studio. See some drop down selector. I think some of the tags are missing in the.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I could actually give the values directly from here.
Yeah, the only thing is though, you should be able to use inputs. Yes, yeah, and then use set variable on that input select, because Well, actually, because you have to no, because you want to do it on the input select. Because you want to have a set variable because you want to refresh if you change it. Otherwise, you'd have to do a submit button. Right? So the idea of a select
Yeah, so
set variable is that you just have and you just refresh, and it will then pick up the change with that variable when it refreshes the page and gets the list information in.
yeah, so with a drop down it wouldn't work, right?
Yeah, no, you can do an input select with a set variable. What do you mean?
But
Have a look.
let's-
Have a look at the select variable. It doesn't have to be on Action Remote. In fact, actually, go to the set variable Bravo page. So you go down. See there. So you look input select. So you'd have, I don't know,
yeah.
and then you use set variable on the input select, and then you do a refresh. I mean, it's designed for like things where everything after this point changes.
Okay. So so I should be using this one and then
Yeah, so input
this
select
one.
action set variable. That one, I think the top one. Or
yeah, but we will pass along this, right?
Okay, yeah, true.
So let's try this. Okay, so we're gonna go with an input select. Okay, so we're gonna try adding an input select component to the action set variable. Instead of triggering the model, we're gonna do it on the spot. No, but Toby, then we need the submit button, right?
No, because you've got action set variable. Action set variable lets you do an action, and so once the set variable has been set, you do a refresh, and what it will do is it will recall everything for the page, and now the variable set, it will change the data that's going into the page.
Okay. So this is going to be upcoming. It's going to be true, hosted by me, true. That's it, right? That should do it.
I think so.
So we're saying that we're gonna. So the option upcoming will have the value true.
No. So what that means is it will show the value upcoming, and then the returned value from the input select will be true. What you want is so the result of this. Sort of how does it work? Because these are the options that it shows, basically. Can you go back to the example? Okay, because then you say you specify in set variable what the ID is. Okay, got it. See what you're saying? Yeah, no, that's probably right. You might want to do underscores. Maybe it doesn't matter here. No, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Let's try it.
Okay, let's try this. So let's try with the input select and action selection, set variable action, and see what does that. So if I come to the home screen, this is where we have this input select. So we want to say that this but there's only one name that I can give this variable.
Does it need to be static? Why can't it be dynamic? Can you show me what dynamic looks like? Action. Okay, no, don't worry. It needs to be static.
Yeah.
So here,
I mean, ideally, if we were doing this right, you would always also give me that in the response. So I can also show here.
What we can do is work on the basis that if it says upcoming, right, then it's not hosted by me. So basically, we can have three states. We can have not set, nothing. We can be true or false. So if it's nothing, it's not quite as good, is it? You need to have true drop downs. Can't do.
What if you send me in the response whether just the input? So the input that is true. So if it's hosted by me, the response has hosted by me.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you will send either hosted by me or upcoming, right? And I just interpret.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'll change it. So let's call it, I don't know, event filter, right? As the name.
So and then return that value as well. So I can show it here, it can change. So, so when it's filtering by upcoming, it will say here upcoming. And when it's filtering by hosted by me, it will say hosted by me, because I can make this.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can do that. That's not a bad idea.
I mean, pretty much we could do this over 1 or 2 days, and we could get an MVP ready.
Yeah, I mean, you can move super fast, and I think there's ways of making it faster. I'm trying to figure out a way of using Superbase, because Superbase actually lets you build backends with AI. So you basically ask it to build stuff for you. So there's things that you can do even faster. Xano's quite good if you want to hand over to clients. If you want to build stuff using AI from the back end, Superbase is better. But we haven't got the authentication working properly with Bravo just yet. So I need to. Yeah, so let me just try and get this right. Hang on, sorry. Okay, so there seems to be something weird going on with this, because are you calling it now?
I just did just now. What do you say we do a second part?
Yeah, maybe that's best. Yeah, okay. I mean, we're pretty close. I mean, look, I'll publish what I've got, but yes, I think we probably need to think about how we finish this off. But I think this is a good exercise. I think this has been pretty good. We can set it up as a sample app potentially. Okay. All right. Well, let's try and do the second session when we finish this up, or get to a point where people can do stuff with it. I mean, I don't think we're super far off. I mean, the beginning was a lot of the setup, but no, I think this is really a good exercise. I definitely want to do some more of these.
Yeah. And I think the first part, like the setup, is what people struggle with the most. So that's like seeing how, for example, I don't know, like I saw myself picking things from the documentation, from the plugin, like putting it together by reusing.
Yeah, it's not consistent. Like some of it's in the plugin, some of it's not. So we need to update it. Otherwise, people are having to scrabble around trying to figure out what's going on, which is not.
Oh no, but I don't think that's an issue. I think what I mean is that I wasn't aware that I was doing that. Like I was reusing.
Right. Okay.
I go to the plugin, take something from a sample app, then I take something else from Clipmix, for example, from another app. So I reuse a lot of this stuff to get started, and that's something that we are showing here, where that helps people kind of kickstart, which is the hardest part.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Cool. Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Juan.
Okay.
Well, let's try and I'll have a look at this and we'll maybe set on the session up. Thanks a lot. Cool. All right. Thanks, Juan. Really good.
It was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Ciao.